Hello, my name is John White, and I'm the chair of PLI's Patent Bar Review Program, and I'm happy to give you a talk about the patent bar exam. A brief history of it, just so you can see how the exam fits in the context of becoming a patent attorney. And then we'll talk about the nature of the exam as it exists today, how you sign up for the exam, preparing for the exam, and then when you should take the exam over the course of your early career as a would-be attorney, either in law school or shortly thereafter, or maybe even after you've already begun your career as a lawyer, you've decided to take and pass this exam at that time. In any case, let us begin the history of the patent bar exam. And the reason I give this isn't to give you an understanding of just how long this test has been around, but it's to try and dispel that rumor that crops up all the time on the web that the Patent Office is considering doing away with the exam. Well, they aren't. The exam has been around since the 1930s. It was given a few years before World War II came along. The exam was suspended. And thereafter, when World War II was over, it's been given once or twice a year since that time. It has been in every form an exam can be given in, with the exception of it has never been an oral exam, but it's been essay, it's been short answer, it's been true-false, it's been multiple choice, it's been pretty much everything. And the big change over the course of its history was that in 2004 it became a computer-delivered exam. Whereas before it had always been given on paper of some kind, either multiple choice with a Scantron, you fill in the little dot as it were. In 2004 it became an exam that is proctored by an outfit called Prometrics. Now Prometrics is not affiliated with the U.S. Patent Office in any way. It is merely an exam proctoring agency, and you may well be familiar with Prometrics having taken other exams that they administer. That would be, for example, GMAT, or GRE or TOEFL or any of a number of other exams. There are about 500-600 locations around the country, and I'm sure there's one near you. But to sign up for the exam, in order to take it at Prometrics, you have to go through the Patent Office. Now, what has the exam become since it has been computer delivered? Well, by now it is a 6-hour exam, 3 hours in the morning, 3 hours in the afternoon. There are 50 questions in each portion of the exam. Each question has 5 possible answers, A, B, C, D, E, and you need to get 70% of the questions that they grade correct in order for you to pass. And you say to yourself, 70%, that's not too bad. In fact, that's a low C. How hard can it be? Well, we'll talk about how hard the exam is in a moment, but it gets even better than that. It's also open book. Not to the extent you can take a book with you into the exam, but rather while you're taking the exam, on the screen, in addition to the questions, you can toggle between the source of all the questions, the Manual of Patent Examining Procedure, and the question itself. So the thought is, hey, I can look something up if I don't know the answer. All right, now the truth about the exam, and this is probably why you're listening to me. How come an exam like this, that you only need to get a 70 on, and the source of the questions is actually given to you during the exam, how come the pass rate is 50% and has hovered at that mark for the past decade or so? Well, for one, that mark is higher than when I took the exam. When I took the exam almost 30 years ago now, the pass rate was 27%. So cheer up. The pass rate's almost doubled since I took it. But why the low pass rate? Because it's a low number, but it's a shockingly low number in light of the people who take the exam. Without exception, those who sit for this exam are degreed engineers or scientists. That's at least half the people who take the exam have that baseline standard of education. The next group has that baseline of an engineering or a science degree, but also has gone to law school and taken and passed one or more state bar exams. That makes up about another 30 or 35% of those who take the exam. The last group, the last 10 or 15%, are people with PhDs, advanced scientific degrees. And my point here is that this group of exam candidates is able to take this exam because they've never failed anything in their life. Literally, that's the kind of successful people they are. And yet they show up and take this exam and they go down like wheat into a harvesting machine. 1 out of 2 fail, 1 out of 2 passes. What's the story? Well, let's review first of all the source of the questions, the MPEP. Whenever anyone offers you an open book exam to take, be forewarned. It means that the exam will also be a race against the clock, because if we all had all the time, we'd all pass. So clearly, they're thinking that you're going to be moving pretty quickly on this exam, and indeed, you have to. You can't spend more than about 2 or 3 minutes per question while you're passing through the exam. So how long is that book, the MPEP? Well, the MPEP is about 3,000 pages long. Therein lies the problem. It's a big, thick book that you're responsible for knowing the contents of to survive this exam, but it gets worse. In addition to knowing the MPEP, you have to know interim guidelines and other things put out by the Patent Office that they consider has risen to a threshold of testability on the exam. Once upon a time, through about 2008, the exam was a static target. You could get a copy of an older MPEP, gather old exam questions, and you could probably pass if you put in 300 hours of study time. But sadly, that's not the case anymore. I'm afraid you've got to take a course if you want to succeed, because the Patent Office now makes the exam more difficult by adding materials in addition to the MPEP and only giving you a guaranteed 90-day window for that specific exam material being covered. They reserve themselves a 90-day announcement period to announce new things that are joining the exam for testing. Why does this matter so much in terms of whether you pass or not? Well, let's revisit the 70% that you need to pass this exam. You may think that 70% is a low number, and it is, and it may have been a long time since you got a grade in the 70s in your scholastic career. But on this exam, getting a 70 is an excellent score. Let me explain. In 1999, they gave this exam. It was 100 questions, multiple choice. It was given on paper. They graded it. The pass rate was 13%, 1-3. They then looked over the questions and decided that 2 of the 100 questions were not good enough or not clear enough to pass muster. They discarded those 2 questions and the pass rate leaped into the 30s. It ended up being close to 40%, maybe 36, 37%. Well, what that tells you is 3/4 of the people, fully 75% of the people who passed the exam in 1999 did it with a score of a 70 or a 71. And so what we can learn from that is the distribution of grades on this exam is balanced on a knife edge at 70, with barely half falling 70 and above, and the rest falling 69 and below. A classic failing scenario on this exam is to get a 68 or a 69. And generally what leads to that score is an inability to finish each portion of the exam. A person may get to question 48 in the morning and question 49 in the afternoon, and they get a 68. Had they answered the remaining 3 questions, they might have passed, but they didn't, so they didn't. And so this is the conundrum of this exam. It's a race against the clock. It's a test of a very thick book that you really don't have much time to look stuff up in. Of the 100 questions, you can probably look up 5 in the morning, 5 in the afternoon. That still leaves 90 questions that come from your memory, your preparation, with respect to knowing what is in this book called the Manual of Patent Examining Procedure. Well, now that you're excited about signing up for the exam, and I can see that in your eyes, how do you do it? Well, you need a document that I'm going to reference. It's called the General Requirements Bulletin, General Requirements Bulletin. You can get this from the USPTO. You go to the USPTO website, which is uspto.gov.gov, and you go to the Office of Enrollment and Discipline. Office of Enrollment and Discipline, the acronym is OED. You click on Exam Resources, and eventually you'll find something called the General Requirements Bulletin. A shortcut to all that is to simply look around on the PLI website, on the Patent Bar Review website. We have a link to the very same document. So save yourself some time and just take advantage of our link. Download your copy of this document. Oddly enough, despite being in the 21st century and the Patent Office now accepting most documentation electronically for the filing of applications, for your application to take this exam, it's still in the mail. That's right, snail mail is the only way to apply to take this exam. So what's required to sign up? Well, you're going to need a fee. The fee to take the exam is on the order of $400, and it goes up a little bit every now and again, but for now it's around $400. You also need your transcripts from your undergraduate experience, not your graduate degrees, and as impressive as they may be, the Patent Office doesn't care to see them. What they're interested in is your transcripts from your undergraduate degree to see that you have the requisite scientific or engineering background. You'll also need a filled-in application. The General Requirements Bulletin has all the details in it of the application itself and how to fill it in, where to send it, the fees to send, and all that sort of thing. Now, with respect to your technical and scientific background, what's necessary? Well, the Patent Office divides you into 3 categories: Category A, Category B, and Category C. Category A is a qualifying degree. That is a degree that automatically gets you in to take the exam. Here are those degrees. So listen up and see if you're among them. And this can be a BS or a BA. Biology, biochemistry, botany, some computer science courses, not all. Electronics technology, food technology, general chemistry, marine technology, microbiology, molecular biology, organic chemistry, pharmacology, physics, textile technology, and pretty much any engineering degree, from aeronautical engineering all the way through petroleum engineering. All of these will qualify. Civil engineering, computer engineering, the general engineering, industrial engineering, any engineering degree pretty much will qualify you to take this exam. All right, well, suppose you don't have a qualifying degree. Instead, you have some technical classes that you took, like chemistry and biology and that sort of thing, but they didn't add up to a degree in any one of those disciplines. What do? Well, you could be Category B. Category B is an approximation of coursework which is equivalent roughly to the degrees in Category A. And I'll give you a for instance. Category B, Option 1, is a bachelor's degree in another subject, but on the way, you accumulated 24 semester hours in physics. That's Option 1. Well, who might you be? Probably a math major. You have a degree in mathematics, but along the way you took, let's say, 18-odd hours of physics because that's applied mathematics. If that's your situation, then you'll just need to take one more semester of physics in there somewhere, and you'll qualify for this exam if you don't already have that accumulation of physics credits. Option 2 is a degree in something else, but you have 32 semester hours in a combination consisting of 8 hours of chemistry or 8 hours of physics, plus 24 semester hours in a combination of biology, botany, microbiology, or molecular biology. Who are you? You're probably pre-med. You're on your way to medical school, or perhaps you're a nurse. You have a degree in nursing, something like that. You have these credits accumulated on your transcript, and you also qualified to take this exam. Option 3 is a degree in another subject, plus you have, in obtaining that other degree, 30 semester hours in chemistry. I don't know who you might be, because it sure seems to me you ought to have a degree in chemistry, but somehow you don't, okay? But if you have 30 semester hours in chemistry, you qualify for this exam. And then finally, there's Option 4, which is 40 semester hours in a combination consisting of 8 hours of chemistry or 8 hours of physics, plus 32 semester hours in a combination of chemistry, physics, biology, botany, microbiology, molecular biology, or engineering, plus now computer science coursework may count towards this accumulation of credits. And this person is a person who started out, let's say, in a science or engineering discipline and then transferred to something else and ended their college program with a diploma of some sort, but not necessarily in a qualifying degree. Not a problem. If you look at your transcript and you're a course or two short, you can fill in the blank. But it will require chemistry for chemistry majors, physics for physics majors, i.e., the hard science courses, not the survey of chemistry for those who will never actually understand chemistry. That's not going to get you in to take this exam. It's got to be the same courses as those sitting for and acquiring a degree in that topic. And take them at a junior college, a community college. You don't have to go to a big state school to pick up these courses. Any course that would be given credit toward a degree in that topic should qualify. So don't go off and register at the big school, register at the small local school and get your credit that way. And then there's Category C. Category C is you take and pass the engineering training exam or the fundamentals of engineering exam. This is given by most states and is the first test on your way to becoming a licensed professional engineer in that state. Now, you may think, well, if I don't have the coursework, how am I going to even qualify for that? You might not, but sometimes this is how architects qualify to take this exam. They can sit for the fundamentals of engineering exam sometimes, and so they can pass that test and then qualify to take this test. Okay, so category ABC, which one are you? Well, it doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter for purposes of what you do in your practice as a patent attorney. The only difference it makes is when you apply to take the exam, category A is automatic. Literally, all they're doing is checking that your transcripts are bona fide from an accredited institution, and they're cashing your check. You'll hear back from the patent office in about 7 days, 10 days, something like that. Category B and C, they actually have to look at what you present. It may take longer, maybe 4 to 6 weeks. But outside of that, there's no difference. Once you hear back from the patent office, you all get the same thing, and that's a ticket to take this exam. You can contact, schedule, and take your exam at a Prometrics facility of your choice within a 90-day window, 9-0, 3-month period. Now, it is first come, first serve, and sometimes these Prometrics facilities may be backed up, not because of people taking the patent exam, but for the other tests that they give. So it may be sometimes hard in certain periods of the year to find a seat. In Manhattan, for example, in the summertime, it is sometimes a 2-month wait to be able to take the patent exam. So you may find yourself at a testing facility that is not too far away, but not the one that's necessarily closest to where you are. Now the question is, can any of you find a day in a span of 90 to take the exam? The answer is yes, because many of these testing places are even open on Saturdays. So you don't have to miss a day of work or school to take this exam. The problem is preparing for this exam. What's that going to take? What kind of time commitment are we talking? And what should you be looking for in preparation? Well, as I said, once upon a time you could probably prepare for this exam without taking a course if you had enough time available, and that was 300 hours. You'd try to do this over the course of a summer or get some friends together and that kind of thing. But realistically anymore, given the tight window that you have to get ready for this and the guaranteed amount of time that they reserve to themselves to change what's tested, you really need a course, because a course compacts the preparation time to about 150 to 175 hours. Well, how much time is that? That's about 12 to 13 weeks of steady effort. Now, this can be done over a law school semester if you combine it with other courses. It can be done over a part of a summer. You can succeed that way. But, excuse me, the best part is you can work this into your schedule. You have to predict, though, when am I going to have this kind of time? You're going to have to find the 3 or 4 hours about every other day to push this thing along, and reserve weekends for testing so you can practice with our software to get yourself ready to take the exam. And if you pursue it in that way, you can get this course out of the way, home study. If you start in a given semester at law school, you can be done by the time you're taking finals. That is, you can take and pass this test, or at least finish your preparation by the time you're sitting down to take finals in a given semester. Or you can do it over a summer, get a big jump on it over a break, over Christmas break, for example, or spring break, something like that. Work it into your schedule. Now, when should you take this during your law school career? Well, my advice is take it as early as you can when you know for sure it's something that you want to do. This exam isn't for everybody, and a career as a patent attorney isn't for everybody with a technical degree in law school. It should be, but maybe not. In any case, When you've determined it's something you want to do, go ahead and figure out when you have the time to prepare for this. What semester you can work it into, what summer you can work it into, because there's nothing in law school that you'll learn that they're going to test on this test. You'll learn what you need from the MPEP and from the course you take. There's no law school class that is specific enough to help you answer a question on this test. And if you do take and pass this exam, you are a patent agent. You can write and file applications. You can represent people at the patent office, and you can work as an agent at a firm. You can have clients. You can develop a skill so that when you're finished with law school and the interviewer asks what skills you have, you already have one. You're a registered patent agent. The only thing that changes when you take and pass the regular bar is your status at the patent office. You go from agent to an attorney. An attorney and an agent are the same at the patent office. The difference between them is outside the patent office, where attorneys can give advice, do licensing, litigate, and all that sort of thing. So my advice to you is think about whether you want to become registered at the patent office. It's a great resume builder. It distinguishes you from others, and it's a not insignificant thing to put on your resume. People know it takes real effort to pass this exam, and it indicates a seriousness and commitment on your part to this field. And so people understand that when they see that on your resume. So think about it. Think about how you want to go about doing this, and then set about planning to see when you can do this. If your plans don't work out on the first run through them, simply plan again. This exam will be here for you, and so will PLI. If you take our course, we're with you until you pass. Good luck.